dear Professor Velmurugan, who is the organizer of this very important seminar on climate change, Professor Ravindran, Department of Visual Communication, and dear colleagues, professors, faculty, scholars, students, and many delegates who have assembled here, drawn from so many different places, and the very seminar being organized here by Central University of Tamil Nadu from yesterday and today is very timely, very important, and as rightly pointed out by the person who has just now introduced me, the climate change or global warming is to be viewed from so many angles, not only from the pure scientific angles. More importantly, it should be viewed from the other social angles. Social angles in the sense political viewpoint, politically you have to view, economical, social, cultural, all these things are very, very important. So I do not know how much time I have, but let me try to present. 1:30. Oh, okay, then it's fine. I can take sufficient time. From the morning, I had the privilege of listening to very, very important presentations, not only by the research scholars, by some of the stalwarts like other scientists. So, lot of information I got. I definitely believe that the learned audience here, drawn from different fields, definitely would have got lot of cues and observations and very important points so as to enrich from their disciplinary domain to augment their research and all. Really, I was a beneficiary, and in my presentation, some of the things might be little elementary, but some of the things, even if it is elementary or so, some of the things you have to get reinstated. That is the thing. Many a time, the issue is known, issue is realized, but only the problem lies in the implementation or solutions. Like that, the earlier speaker also pointed out, you have to be the person to give solutions instead of person to create problems. That it is to be a person to create problems, it is very easy, and most of the people do that. But to be a person to give solution is very, very important, especially the issue what we face, requires solutions. In fact, not necessarily that is awareness. It is enough awareness is there, enough realization is there, enough deliberations are there. But what was lacking, or what we have to do forward is many things. That many things, not all great big things, little things, smaller things, tiny things, but which we fail to do. And I am going to touch upon some of the things from that angle, community angle, people angle. Okay, you do a lot of conventions, international conventions, all thousands of scientists, delegates, diplomats gather, speak, bring documents, discussed. But what is lacking, not only it is lacking from the very implementation point of view, but at the root level, certain things ought to be attended to. First let me have some preliminary presentation, and also later I will be giving you the little bit of solutions or little bit of the actual things which ought to be done. That line also we can think a few. Okay. See, increasingly anthropologists, like any other disciplined people, are also encountering the local effects and broader issues of climate change. And as just now I told, okay. No. Okay, yes, that's right. Yeah. As I just now told, the climate change is to be viewed from the broader angles, from the social angle, cultural angle, economic angle, political angle. We encounter people telling similar accounts of the climate changes they notice in the weather and climate. Again, both the climate change and also global warming, both are necessarily look like one and the same, but definitely it has some different connotations. Especially some of you would have read the book Anthony Giddens, the Politics of Climate Change. Though that book is Politics of Climate Change, definitely it includes all the issues, implications of climate change from economic angle and also mostly from cultural angle also. In fact, though I have done a little bit of works or presentation on this theme, before coming to this conference for a couple of days, again I was casually reading that book. And here I also want to tell one important thing. Pondicherry University some time ago had in our department of Anthropology, we had one very short course, only for one semester. We have invited a person from US. Her name is Sarah Strass. She has given a paper on anthropology of climate change. She has also, after that course, she has also published a very important book with the same title, Anthropology of Climate Change. And that course was not only opted by the students of the Department of Anthropology, other students also got into it. From that time onwards, I used to pay a little bit of attention on this thing. Though my basic interest is not purely on climate change, but I have some kind of awareness. Once in a while, I also used to read. On that basis only, I will be giving some of the points to you. What exactly you mean by climate change? The contemporary phenomenon of anthropogenic global climate change. This anthropogenic, it is very, very important. What, in fact, why is that all these issues emerging? It is purely because of the human effect. Though you can say, it is political or economic or technological, all, who is behind all? After all, it is human. That is the reason why we call all, or in a way, it is the impact of anthropogenic factor. And during the COVID time, I had given one online lecture. During that time, I was even questioning the very categorization of the present epoch, like Anthropocene. You all know, almost all of you are scientists here sitting. Anthropocene, the age of the human evolution or human has been classified into different phases, and the present phase was considered to be or named by somebody as Anthropocene, but it has not started long before, just 3-4 centuries before only it has started. And we were thinking that all that are happening or all that will be going to happen in the coming years is purely by the human being. So it was named as or branded as Anthropocene. Whether it has gained the enough currency among the scientists or not, that is a different thing. But I have also questioned, especially during the first wave of Corona, I was also questioning whether really we will be having the Anthropocene continuing, or with this Anthropocene, with this Anthropocene, the everything whether human being will go into extinct or disappear. That type of doubts also I have raised, though you may think that it is a pessimistic thing, but almost all of us were fearing, scared. Now we are a little bit casual. Because of the vaccinations and other things. But imagine the situation, what all the kind of fear, the scared feeling, what all we had 2 years before. I want to recollect. Okay. That contemporary phenomenon of anthropogenic climate change, distinct from natural climatic variability. One thing we have to tell, whether human being doing something or not, without that also naturally also many things will happen. So we need not have to say everything are related to human being only. We can only control, we can only make comment, we can only regulate the human interventions. There are many things, natural thing, which you and I have no control over it. So we are only talking about the human related activities only. Whatever you do also, nature can do anything. That is a different thing. We can't predict, you can't control that thing. So it is beyond the scope of the science, beyond the scope of the humanity. But what are all under the control of the human activities only, we are talking about that. And then there is, you have to also understand the term climate variability. Climate variability indicates changes in climatic conditions that scientists consider to be due to natural mechanisms and processes, and as such are entirely unrelated to human activities. So what is happening due to the non-human activities, nothing to do about it. So then climate change, a variation in climatic parameters and is attributed directly or indirectly to human activities only we are concerned about. Such variations in climatic parameters occur in addition to or despite natural climate variability. And as just now I told, climate change or global warming, some people distinguish both these two separately. Some people see one and the same, whatever it is, they what are they? Often used interchangeably. Some people use interchangeably, but ultimately it is enhanced greenhouse effect. And also, I need not have to elaborate you what do you mean by greenhouse effect. All the students know. The trend in the increase of mean global surface temperatures confused the understanding of the above two terms. Climate change can result in the cooling as well as the warming of the Earth's near surface atmosphere. So very often we talk about global warming. If it goes negatively also, it is a problem. That also we have to be very careful. So effects of climate change: sea ice thinning and disappearing, seeing new insects, shifts in prevailing winds, loss of pasture for herds, warming of winter, increasing desertification, disappearance of glaciers and water resources, rising tides. These are all the effects of climate change. So climate change is not something that may happen in the near future. Already it has happened. We are experiencing it. Everybody is experiencing it. Many, even the youngsters also might be experiencing it, like people like me also experiencing it. Even the size of the insect I could experience. The mosquitoes which were biting us when we were children is not to be seen now. We have only huge mosquitoes only. Thanks to this so many the pests are control malaria control mechanisms and other things. Even I'm only telling this thing in a lighter vein because I'm having a joint project of ICMR controlling the malaria and other vector-borne diseases, especially in the Ramanathapuram district of Tamil Nadu and the North Madras of Madras city, because these two areas are incidents more incidents of these vector-borne diseases. But when compared to the other states like Orissa and so many other states, Tamil Nadu is far better. Even then, we are concentrating on those two districts. That is different thing. So climate change is not something that may happen in the near future. It is an immediate, lived reality. It is a lived reality to be apprehended, negotiated, responded, leading to increasingly unpredictable weather, changing the landscapes, seascapes, icescapes, everything. See, many times people say the temperature increase of the sea, but even the land temperatures are also increasing. Not only just seeing the temperature of the atmosphere, atmospheric temperature, sea temperature, and land temperature. Even land temperature also it is increasing. You can't walk on the floor, on the earth, and you can feel the heat. And then what is happening in the Arctic regions, polar regions, you all know. That is only what you call it as ice caps. Global discourse on climate change. It is adaptive capacity and resilience. Only these things are very, very important, you should understand. Both are crucial for the sustainability of local livelihoods and resource utilizations. As anthropologists, we often, very often support the local solutions for even if it is the global issue. And we strongly feel, anthropologists feel, there is no global solution for neither for the global problems or local problems. We strongly feel, even if it is a issue global in nature, solution lies in the roots. That is our approach. Okay. Both are crucial for sustainability of local livelihoods and resource utilization, but the ability to respond to climate change is constrained for many people around the globe due to many barriers. Scientific reports confirm that climate change is not only happening but is caused by human activity, as I just now told you, and public awareness has risen, no doubt about it. There is a public awareness and need to make changes in consumer lifestyle. See, now there is not days are not fair. Soon there is a possibility of having the one new kind of taxation called carbon taxing. It is likely to come. Though the other GST, other things for equipments you are having it, that is different thing. But there will be special tax people are thinking about it in global level. Because what you produce out of refrigerator and air conditioner, all these things, why not let us have the tax for that? The reason is not to gain more money, not to draw more money from the people, but to make them aware to use it less in an optimal manner, for that sake. And that is only I tell you, need to make changes in consumer lifestyle. And the effects of climate change are the indirect cause of imperialism and colonization. That is there. And the people who have largely been ignored and whose territories that have long been a dumping ground for uranium, industrial societies, trash heaps and transboundary pollutants. The thing is, the culprits are somebody, but the sufferers are somebody. That is the very, very, that is irony in this world. And the one who produces all the, one who are creating all the causes, they are not suffering it. They are the suffering, immediate suffering by the non-problem people. You all know, it is the two very superpowers of this world. America and China are to be blamed for almost all the 3/4 of the global warming, climate changing thing. But the whole rest of the world is suffering. But they are more or less becoming superpowers, not only in military, not only in economy, in this thing also. Is it a superpower or it is a malign power? It is derogatory power. But we have to have that realization. And the people who have largely been ignored and whose territories that have long been a dumping ground for uranium, industrial societies, trash heaps and transboundary pollutants. And climate change is environmental colonialism. Remember, some people call it as with this concept, climate change. If you say climate change, a very gentle word. You don't have the politics in that word, as if it is an academic concept. But realize it. Replace that concept, climate change, with the environmental colonialism. Then only you would realize the problem. You would realize that you are somebody is doing that. And here, for this environmental colonialism to understand the environmental colonialism, there is some kind of anthropological understanding is also necessary. Interestingly, anthropology is the one subject which has, I am not commenting upon other subjects, but anthropology is the one subject which is aware of these issues from its subject's inception days. See, because there are so many theories in anthropology. There are two kinds of theories I want to tell you. There is one theory called environmental determinism and another theory called environmental possibilism. There are two schools of thought as regards the issue of relating culture with the environment. One school of thought was telling whole culture, the culture, lifestyle, way of life of the people is totally determined by the environment. But some people have a different view. No, it can't be. It can only one of the determining factors. So that school of thought is called environmental possibilism. You need not have to take a very drastic side of blaming environment for everything. In fact, why I bring this theory, first we were thinking that environment determines culture, environments regulate cultures, but now it is happening, it is other way around. Culture in the sense here and the big, culture B, big, capital C I am telling, not culture C. If I say culture C, cultures, cultures or that is a different thing. Each and every culture individually, whether doing it or not, to be estimated. But culture as a whole, human culture, human way of living, whether you live in US or live in Australia, wherever you are only spoiling the environment. Then where is the question of environmental determinism? So that is the theory is at stake now. Okay, these are all to be ponder over. And climate change is environmental colonialism. Climate change is the result of global process. When you say global process, it includes everything: technology, migration, travel, politics, economy, money, everything, whatever. And now almost everything is global now. And so nowadays people say, earlier only there used to be two words, global and local. But now you have only one word, that is glocal. You don't have separate global, separate local, nothing of that sort. You only have glocal, which means you are connected with everybody. All of you are connected with everybody. Each and everything is connected with everybody. Ordinary soda also it is connected. Drinking soda. Or even if you want to, ginger water, sukkuvenni, that is also linked with multinational. Whatever you produce, you can send, export, all these things. What I want to say now, to make you to understand, there is no separate process or happenings or dynamics to call global dynamics and local dynamics. If you only have the local dynamics, if people in the remote area, you call this, you say sometime, anthropologists are fascinated or obsessed with studying the people, so-called tribes who are in remote areas. Now, where is the remote? Where is the remote? I don't find any remoteness. There is no remote habitation at all. There is not, I don't think so. Even there is no relative isolation, relative remotedness. If there are any, please identify for me so that I can take my students for the next field trip. So where is the isolated people? Where is the isolated habitats? Nothing. You are connected by everything, good or bad. That is which means that is the reason why. So there is no separate local process and global process. But only everything is happening local. But my argument is, my solution is, if there is really local, if there is really localization, if there are really different kinds of separate local phenomena happen here and there or everywhere, most of the global problems would not be there at all, because the local situation, local life will take care of the sustainability on its own without even preaching, without even somebody telling this thing, because the human nature is like that. See, what you are humans are suffering because of the non-human processes, but unfortunately it is by the hands of certain forces. But humans basically are not that greedy. Individually he may be greedy, but he can't go in that level as long as he is having the local resource utilization in his hand, it will not go out of hand. That's what I want to say. Though it may look like conservative or backward thinking, but I only ask you to understand the basic, the value in it. Climate change, so, is the result of global process. Climate change was neither caused nor can be mitigated by the inhabitants of the majority of climate-sensitive world regions. Indigenous people and other place-based peoples find themselves at the mercy of and having to adapt to the changes far beyond their control. See, why I used the word place-based peoples, because if I say tribal, sometimes people question that concept. How can you call tribe as if it is having some derogatory connotation and all? So, rather, so to avoid that value-added terms, I call it as place-based people. When I say place-based people, I mean the people who have some kind of attachment with the domicile, with the locality where they live. It can be, even if it is a sentimental attachment, fine, good. See, but if you carefully observe the people who have kind of sentimental attachment to the place where they live, for their native abodes, don't spoil it. But those who do not see that place as with the kind of sentimental attachment, you see, for example, I tell you an example why I call place-based people. A tribe will see land not just as a land. It is the place of, it is the abode of his forefathers. It is the bread-giving power. Or land means many things for him. But for a person who is a real estate person, land, what he will see? He will only see how much square feet it costs. Only that thing only in his mind will come. But for the people, that will not be coming in his mind at all. He can't convert that a piece of land into money value. He will think all the other things other than the money value. His history, his connection, his kinship, his worship, his culture, his clan, or his survival, everything he will attach with this simple piece of land. So, but others, they will only see the land as what you can do. It can be made into plots, or it can be converted for an industry, or you can take soil, sell it, or you can do some more extraction and take minerals out of it. All these things I say, no, it will not be in the mind of the place-based people. So that only it is the place-based people won't do any harm to the world, to the earth. Indigenous peoples and the other place-based peoples find themselves at the mercy of and having to adapt to changes far beyond their control. Climate change is a threat multiplier. Then I come to the other thing. It is a threat multiplier. It magnifies and exacerbates existing social, economic, political and environmental trends, problems, issues, tensions and challenges. Again, there is no end. See, the global change, if you don't mitigate, or if you don't control, if you don't regulate, there is no end. There is no end. A big question mark only will be there. And national and international security dimensions of climate change also you have to understand. The humanitarian aspects, political and security risks, conflicts over resources, border disputes, tensions over energy supply, migration, political radicalization, structural violence, tension between different ethnic and religious groups, or the byproducts of the climate change, or the byproducts of the global warming. And some of the other cultural implications of climate change also, let us look into it. Climate change is ultimately about culture. It is having impacts on culture, ways of life, spirituality, and in other arenas that are not obvious. Many things it is not obvious, but you only realize, or after suffering only you will realize something has happened. Human environmental relations lose place. Climate change brings different kinds of risks and opportunities, threatens cultural survival, undermines indigenous human rights. The consequences of ecosystem changes have implications for the use, protection and management of wildlife, fisheries, forests, affecting the customary uses of culturally and economically important species and resources. And other effects of climate change. Communities and populations' capacity to adapt and exercise their resilience in the face of unprecedented change. Relocations of human, animal, and plant populations to adjust and change and cope with these implications. Relocations entail a loss of intimate human-environment relationships, result in loss of mythological symbols, meteorological orientations, and even the very totem and mainstay plants and animals that ground a culture. Example, the case of the loss. So there are so many other things. See, as I just now told, in the land means not only just land, it is not only just soil, all the plants and other species, animal or plant species live in that. They see those plants and animals as not just animals and plants. They relate with them. As you are as you are divided or organized under various kinds of clans or other things, they also have their own relationship, like Linnaeus classification of the plants. They themselves have the classification of the plants. I have done extensive work on the Irula community in the Anaketi, this Sirvani, Anamala areas. There I have got two simultaneous classification system. One system tells about their divisions. Community, hundreds of settlements live in the hundreds of square kilometers of the forest and mountainous area. They are classified under various clans, phratries, subclans, lineages and all. And all those divisions of those people, named after either some plants or animals. That plants and animal naming, it is not arbitrary. If you go and ask why is that you are claiming yourself as belong to this group, they say, oh no, not it is. We believe that we have descended from that particular animal, or it is believed that our ancestors were the descendants of this animal, this plant, this and all. So they see some of the plants as their ancestors. Some of the animals as their ancestors. So they can't afford to kill them. They can't afford to make them. So it is, the belief system is what all you say, they knew all these modern concepts of biodiversity is already in the people's traditional cultures. But what is happening, you want to dismantle traditional cultures, then you go and teach biodiversity, conserve forests, this and that. It is already there. The only thing is you should have sensitization. After having the sensitization, you have to encourage and appreciate that what they have, instead of dismantling, destroying. But it is happening in the name of forest department and this and that. In the name of protecting the forest, we are not really protecting the forest. But if really afforestation is happening, no problem. But is it happening? Despite having contributed the least to greenhouse gas emissions, the indigenous people are the ones most at risk from its consequences due to their dependence upon and close relationship with the environment and its resources. Their livelihood systems are often vulnerable to environmental degradation and climate change, as many inhabit in fragile ecosystems in the countries likely to be worst affected by climate change. I will in 2 slides. This means that for them, climate change is not something that comes in isolation. It magnifies already existing problems of poverty, deterritoriality, marginalization, and non-inclusion in policy making. It is aggravating the already, climate change is aggravating the already existing problems, not doing any solutions. And the alternative, I was telling, what is the solutions? Please have the realization of the traditional knowledge systems. You have the sensitivity. Before it all get disappeared or disintegrated or forgotten by the people, try to document them. If you have the scientific validity, make them, encourage them to make use of it. And the climate change, human rights, and the interplay of multiple stressors, I will be completing within a couple of minutes. Communities differ in the way they perceive risk. The effects of climate change are prompting the adoption of different subsistence and local economic strategies. The world's poor will suffer the worst effects of climate change, as they are most dependent on climate sensitive resources such as local water and food supplies. They cannot buy, they only have to use what is available. Women are hit at the hardest, remember. For example, in hurricane, tsunami, etc., the women are most affected than men due to many reasons. I do not want to elaborate much. To reduce greenhouse gases as a way to mitigate, it is difficult to pin responsibility on any one actor. Local effects of climate change may surmount the indigenous group's adaptive capacity. For some, climate change may not be the ultimately pressing issue. For some, social, cultural, economic change often has more immediate effects. Anthropology can teach out how larger scale processes, including industrial development, resource use regulations, global economic flows, etc., tend to magnify the impacts of weather and climate variations. There are so many studies on fishing communities who would tell this thing. Then how to move forwards a carbon-free, sustainable society? Big question, climate change in the new millennium. Analysis of social memory clarifies how communities curated and transmitted past environmental states and responded to them, and thereby informed the present. It is relevant to small-scale subsistence producers who are most vulnerable to climate change, but most often led out of macro policy decisions and their effects. Implicates cultural conservation to the extent that indigenous social memory is a great repository of human experience and therefore a vital resource for resilience and adaptation in our rapidly changing contemporary global context. Need to tap this great reservoir of human experience for legitimate, appropriate, and economically and culturally sustainable responses to climate change. And so with this I stop. Though I have so many other slides, I understand the time constraint, and thank you very much for the very good opportunity given to me. Thank you.